Alright guys, welcome back to another Tuesday. Today we're going to be working on estimating sums and differences, and it's going to be topic 2-3, and today's date is November 7th. In my notebook it's on page 31, but remember in your notebook it may be on whatever page, so just update your table of contents accordingly. And go ahead and you can go ahead and pause the video here if you need to update your table of contents before moving on. I'm going to go ahead and move on to page 31 of my notebook. And I already started writing some of the notes, so I'll get it nice and clear. And I can pause here, and you can pause here so that you guys can get caught up on the notes before we start talking about the example. I have a topic 2-3, estimating sums and differences. Our essential question, how can you estimate sums? Our example, we're going to start with, we're going to round some numbers to the wholest number, and we're going to do a second way, we're going to substitute for compatible numbers. So go ahead and pause here until you're caught up. So you already know how to round numbers. Today you will learn how to use rounded numbers to estimate sums and differences. Think of a situation when you might estimate a sum or a difference. Go ahead, think about something. Now, a couple situations I thought, maybe when I estimated chairs I needed for a classroom event, are about how much money is due when you buy several things at once. When you're at Publix buying groceries, or when I'm at GameStop buying video games, or if you're at the mall buying clothes or shoes. You might try to estimate items together so you can figure out how much money you have left to spend. So the first thing I want to do is draw your attention to the top of your book on page 36. And there's a question there. Students are collecting dog food to give to an animal shelter. Estimate the sum of pounds collected in weeks 3 and 4. And they provide a data table to us. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the estimated sums of dog food collected in weeks 3 and 4 by rounding to the nearest whole number. So if I look at week 3, I have 23 and 7/10 of a pound. And in week 4, they raised 34 and 5/10 of a pound of dog food. I'm going to make this look fancy, so I'm going to do week 3, week 4. Now I'm going to round that to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to rewrite that as 24 plus 35. And that's going to give me a sum of 59. 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, so let's see if we do it the other way where we substitute for whole numbers. So I'm going to write the problem out again, which is 23 and 7/10 plus 34 5/10. Dog food raised for week 3, week 4. And then I'm going to rewrite the problems using whole numbers. So what are two numbers near 23 and 34 that I could easily add together? Well, two numbers I came up with was 25 and 35. So now I need to add them together. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So my estimation is 60 if I use compatible numbers. Now, I want to prevent any misconceptions. Compatible numbers always don't have to be multiples of 5 or 10. They could be multiples of 2. They could be multiples of whatever two numbers are easy to add together. Personally, I think 23 and 34 are pretty easy to add together. So, do you guys think the actual sum will be more or less than the estimate of 59 pounds if we go back to where we round it with whole numbers? So our actual sum would be less because we had to round up for both numbers. 23 and 7/10 is rounded up to 24, 34 and 5/10 is round up to 35. So because we rounded up both addends for our sum, we know that our sum will be less. So the way we explain that is less because both rounded numbers are greater than the actual numbers. So if you guys can go ahead and pause right here to get all the notes caught up, here's a great place to pause and then just resume the video when you're ready to move on because I'm going to do one more example. So the next example I'm going to do is on page 36 in your book, and it uses 22 and 8/10 minus 13 and 9/10. So I'm going to write that on both sides. I actually wrote this wrong. Okay, and first I'm going to estimate these using rounding to the nearest whole number, and then I'm going to substitute for compatible numbers. So if I round 22 and 8/10 to the nearest whole number, that would give me 23. 13 and 9/10 would give me 14. 23 minus 14 gives me 9. The other way I could do this is I could find two numbers near 22 and 13 that would easily subtract from itself, and I would go with 25 and 15, which would give me 10. Now our book asks us to explain this example a couple different ways. So our first question says, which estimate is closer to the actual difference? How can you tell without subtraction? Well, if I look at my estimate and I use what we learned from above, where if we round up both our numbers and we make them greater than the actual addends or the digits we're subtracting, that our answer is going to be less. So over here we rounded both of these up as well. We rounded 22 and 8/10 to 23. And we rounded 13 and 9/10 to 14. So I know that my actual answer will be less than 9. So that's how I can tell which one is more accurate. Compatible numbers are rounded to the nearest whole number. And in this scenario, rounded to the nearest whole number of 9 would be closer to the original numbers. So I can explain that by 9 the rounded numbers are closer So the rounded numbers are closer to the original numbers than the compatible numbers. The second question is, when is it appropriate to estimate an answer? So I only like to estimate an answer when it tells us about, or the question tells us to estimate, like it did earlier when we were talking about the dog food that was collected in week 3s and week 4s. So one way I would answer number 2, which is when is it appropriate to estimate an answer? Estimate an answer when a precise response is not needed. So once you guys get caught up on your notes, what I would like you to work on is you guys need to start on guided practice. On page 36. And you're going to do 2 through 8 even. And then when you get done with that, have myself or Miss Russell check it, and then you can move on to independent practice. On page 36 and 37. Actually, just page 37 and 38. And let's do Let's do 33 through 45, and we'll do all of them. Alright guys, like I always ask, leave a comment in the video. Let me know what I'm doing right. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. How can I improve this video? What can I do different to help you guys better understand the math concepts being taught? Alright, have a great day.